Hi, and welcome to episode 26 of West End Talks. We're going back to the barracks tonight with Richard Carson's nomination. And because tonight we have Luke Mcall. Now, we've no fancy jacket tonight because it's far too warm for that. So you have a nice colourful t-shirt, just in case anybody comments on it. But Luke Mcall, you'll know as the alternative Jean Valjean in Les Mis. He's also been the cover Phantom in Phantom. Lou in Man in La Mancha and Mancha, and Charles Lightoller in Titanic. So welcome, Luke.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome. I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Good, I'm very well, thank you.
Good. That's a nice strong Welsh accent, I like that. Welcome and thank you for joining us. It's a privilege for you to join us. Obviously, you're here because of the nomination that Richard Carson gave.
Yeah.
But not only that, you're here because listen to the list we've just read out. You're a useless fact, not useless fact, a fantastic fact, I would say, for everybody. You're the youngest person ever to play Jean Valjean and the Phantom in the West End.
That's right. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Not so young anymore, though.
No, but you are still the youngest. Like nobody younger has played those characters.
Not yet. No, I don't think so.
Not yet. Certainly that's according to the Les Mis website, so I'm assuming that's up to date. That's the Songtime website. So I would like to hope that's up to date. Especially as Macintosh is in charge of both of them to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So welcome. What we'll do is we'll get started the same way as we'd normally do with everybody. And that's just asking, what got you into performing?
Well, really, it's to do with being Welsh. I think most people in Wales can sing. And in fact, I would go as far as to say everyone in Wales can sing, because it's a really strange thing. It's really highly encouraged from a very young age that you start singing. To some capacity, there's choirs, there's all sorts of. There's a thing called the Eisteddfod, which is a big music festival in Wales. It happens every year, Welsh Language Music Festival. And you're encouraged to compete in it every year from a very, very young age. So everyone sort of sings in Wales. And I didn't really start taking it seriously until I was probably about 16. But even then, I didn't know I wanted to be, this is what I wanted to do as a profession. I didn't really realize that until I was probably 22. But I don't know really. I just love it. I think it's great.
Okay.
I don't really know what else is. Literally, that's why I do it, because I love it.
You love it. And definitely when you see everything in Wales, you think of the Welsh performers, like even just the famous ones. You've obviously got Tom Jones, Catherine Jenkins. You've loads more. Only Boys Allowed. They were Welsh.
Yeah.
Loads and loads and loads of Welsh singers. That's not even scraping the surface. That's just thinking like three off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And obviously Luke Mcall. He's another one. So what was your first ever performance?
My first ever performance? Oh dear. It was probably at that music festival, the Eisteddfod, when I was 16. I think I decided to compete for some reason. I didn't win. However, I quite enjoyed doing it.
Don't know who won, but robbed.
And then I joined something called Ysgol Theatr Maldwyn, which means Maldwyn Theatre School. And it was a once a week thing. It was after school. And we did Welsh shows. There's some Welsh musicals. We used to do those, and it was singing, acting, dancing. It was lovely. And my first performance of a show was with them. And the first show, I think, was called Llwybr Efnisien, which is the Path of Efnisien in English. It's an old story, Mabinogi story, which is a classical Welsh, Celtic tale, I should say.
Right.
So that was my very first sort of amateur performance in a show. Professionally, it would be Les Mis 5 years ago. In fact, it was 5 years ago. What are we? 23rd of June. It was 5 years ago, and about 10 days now.
Oh, so about the 13th of June you started.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was the 13th of June. No, it was the 14th of June. I'm wrong. But that was my first ever professional performance. Yeah.
Fantastic. And what a professional show to start in. Like, just go for the
I know,
top.
yeah.
Like, why go? Why work our way up when we just go for the top? That's the way to do it, definitely. We'll now move on, and now we're moving on, and we hold no responsibility for the next set of questions.
Okay.
These are all from your fans or fans of shows that you have been in.
Okay.
And we're going to start with Olivia today. And Olivia asks, nice easy one to get you started. So you've done the two West End gods of musicals, i.e. Les Mis and Phantom, is what she said. That's how she's worded it. And played the lead male in both. Which character is harder?
So they're equally as difficult, but in different ways. So Valjean is very vocally demanding. There's a lot of high singing very early on in the show. So if you're not warm before the show, it's a nightmare from the beginning. So you have to thoroughly warm up before the show, because the first sort of, I would say 45 minutes of the show as Valjean is non-stop. So you're on stage from the prologue, and I think it's about 9 minutes until you actually sing the soliloquy. And then you get in straight into costume for the next scene, which is the factory, and then it's straight into costume again for the scenes after that. And I think it's the end of the confrontation is sort of when you can go and breathe. With Phantom, now Phantom is, I would say, incredibly emotionally draining because he's a very sort of emotional person, and at the end of the show he has a complete and utter breakdown when Christine and Raoul leaves, and that's difficult to do. Singing high notes after a breakdown, after crying and shouting, is the challenge there. So they're sort of both equally as difficult as each other, but Phantom more emotionally and Valjean more vocally.
That's a good answer. Yes, that's a good answer. I'm not a singer, but I can imagine after shouting, that does obviously affect your voice. Even talking after shouting it can be a struggle sometimes. So yeah, I can understand that. And crying, well, yeah, I'm a write-off, which usually happens with most musicals, I'd like to say. There's not many musicals I don't cry at, whether it's happy tears or, well, in this Les Mis case or Phantom case, it's not really happy, but you still go back, definitely, even though you cry sad tears.
Yeah,
definitely. Tanya asks, what's your favourite song in Les Mis?
Favourite song? Ooh, controversial again. I love Stars. I think Stars is a banger. Stars is my favourite. So as a Valjean, I probably shouldn't say that, but
makes sense, huh? Well, Sophie actually asks, what's your favourite song to sing in Les Mis?
To sing? Okay. Oh, well, I mean, I love Bring Him Home. It's such a lovely sing. And I also really, and it was the song I was most apprehensive about going into the show. I was like, I need to sort this out because I'm really nervous about it. And it was Who Am I? Because there's such a range in it. It's so low, and then you go for that big note. But now I love singing it, and I think going to rehearsals, I was like, oh no, I've got to sing this song now. But now I'm like, it's one of my favorite parts to sing in the show. So
it's one of the most iconic sayings in the show, I think, as well. Everybody knows the "Who am I?"
Yeah,
that one, the 24601.
Yeah.
I think even if you don't know Les Mis, you know that one, and Do You Hear the People Sing? And I Dream a Dream, I think everybody knows as well. But just those two sayings rather than the actual songs themselves. If you say Les Mis, everybody can go, who am I? Tom wants to know, that's why I don't sing, I'm just going to speak it. Hey, Tom, and I'm definitely going to try and hit that high, you know what? Tom says, what's the hardest thing about being in Les Mis?
The hardest part? I presume you're talking about the actual show. If so, then I would say the soliloquy is the hardest part of the show to do as Valjean, because obviously the start of the show, the whole prologue is about 9 minutes long before you start singing the soliloquy. It's incredibly dry on stage. It's really difficult to fix that, especially, there's a lot of smoke, things like that. So I personally anyway, I have to make sure that I've A, drunk enough water, and B, I've had a chewing gum 5 minutes before the show, because it increases the saliva in your mouth. Because otherwise I'm really sort of struggling like with dryness when it comes to singing the soliloquy, which is so far into the show, and you're on the stage for the entire time. There's no way you can go off, have a quick drink of water and come back, if you get what I mean. So I'd say soliloquy is the hardest part of the show.
Yeah, and you can't, as a prisoner, you can't really make an excuse up to drink on the stage either. You're still a prisoner at that point, so yeah, you can't. You're getting whipped if don't use your drink. So moving on slightly, I'm sure we'll come back to the barracks later on. But Sally touches on another musical that you've been in. She asks, what was it like sinking every night in the world's most famous cruise liner?
Oh, okay.
She touched on the fact you were in Titanic the musical.
Titanic, yeah. God, that feels like a lifetime ago, but it was literally only last year. It was great show. Like, when I auditioned for it, I didn't know anything about it at all whatsoever. I didn't know the script. I didn't know any of the music. So I was like, oh, great. And then when I was auditioning for the role of Charles Lightoller, and I was like, okay, I'm trying to figure out who that would be in the film. And then I was going through the script thinking, where's Jack, where's Rose? And because obviously I genuinely had no idea about the musical, which is awful. And I was apprehensive when I found out they weren't in it. I was like, oh, so what's this going to be? And then I listened to the soundtrack and I was like, wow, the music is incredible. It's so beautiful. So I was sold immediately. But doing the show, it was gorgeous. And I got to see some lovely places, which was wonderful because we went to Germany with it, and Woking. And that's it, because yeah, I know.
Well, that was a big difference. You went to Germany and Woking. No offense to Woking if anybody's watching from Woking, but it's just Germany to Woking, like, big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wonderful show to do.
I saw it in Glasgow at the very far, and I've got to say I didn't know much about it. I knew it was a musical, but that was literally where it ended. But the amount of people at interval were like, well, so where's Jack and Rose?
Yeah.
We're like, why are they not singing that song? All the rest of it. And I'm like, well, because it's not actually, it's based on the true story. Like, these are actually people that were on the ship. Jack and Rose were never actually on the ship. And
also, fun fact, James Cameron was sued for the film by a lot of the families of the staff that were on the ship. For example, Murdoch, who is the one who he shoots himself, spoiler.
Yeah.
But he kills someone and then he kills himself. I think he shoots someone and then he shoots himself. And obviously that is factually 100% incorrect. And the problem is these are real people that actually lived it. They're not fictional characters. So the family sued James Cameron for that.
Yeah, the suing definitely happened.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember something coming out, or something said anyway. I don't remember the film coming out initially because it was only like 5 or something. But I do remember the film being out. And obviously it is, I think a lot of people were there because of the movie.
Yeah.
Which did certainly in Glasgow.
A lot of theatres were selling Jack and Rose cocktails. There was buskers outside the theatre playing My Heart Will Go On and things like that. So that didn't help the fact that at the interval people were like, where's Jack and Rose?
Yeah, where's Jack and Rose? Why is this not a... But the only thing I could talk about at the interval was just the brilliance of how you can hit an iceberg without actually having a ship there.
Yeah.
That was the only question I had, was like, okay, so how are they going to do the crash scene?
100%.
And it was fantastically done, like absolutely fantastic. One of the best things I've seen on stage, like technology-wise, or lighting, because it was all about lighting, obviously, and sound, and the way the actors moved, and there wasn't really much. Okay, so I think the ship did come up, doesn't it? The back of the ship. It
comes up in Act 2, yeah.
Yeah, in Act 2, but it didn't in the initially. But yes, I'm like, that was good. That was absolutely fantastic. I just couldn't get over the way how you knew exactly what was happening, but you didn't because there was nothing happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That was what I found. Anyway, we digress slightly. Rebecca asks, what's your favourite song in the show? And obviously Titanic.
In Titanic. Oh, I love... I don't know if I know the title of it, is the problem, because I didn't sing it. It was Oh dear. I think it's called No Moon, No Wind. Just
No
that
Moon.
very, very beginning bit where the character sings on the middle stairs, if you remember the show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No moon, no wind, nothing to spy, things fly. That bit is absolutely gorgeous. I really love that musically. But then I also love the. I don't know the name of the song either because I wasn't in it. But it's the did da did da did. That song's really.
Oh right, yeah. The when they're trying to Morse code.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
really
like that. I can't think of the name of it, but yeah, no. My personal one's Godspeed Titanic. I don't know. I do it quite close to the start of the show. Obviously, before it goes off, or as it goes off, as it sails off, I think that's great. And I had No Moon as well down because that's it's quite chilling.
I like watching Godspeed Titanic. However, singing it's very high.
I can imagine as a performer, yes, there's different. As a fan of the show, I enjoyed watching it, but yes, I can imagine different songs.
I was on the top tenor line, so I was singing all the top C's, and it was draining. So.
I can imagine, yeah. I can imagine. So Ben wants to know, do you know, and it's only if you know, why didn't they use that song from the film?
I've absolutely no idea. Absolutely no idea. It was Maury Eston that wrote the musical, and it might have been written before the film, maybe. I don't know.
I think it was, to be honest. I think was it not written in the 1980s initially?
Oh, pass.
First draft, I think, was written in the 80s because he won the Tonys at the beginning of the 90s for it.
Oh, it will be then. This is terrible. I should know this.
It won the best. I don't know if it was in best musical or best score. It won Tonys anyway.
Yeah. I think it was. Yeah, it was definitely written before the film. So I would imagine the reason it's not in it is because that was solely written for the movie.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Because that's nothing to do with the actual, like, Celine Dion was not in the Titanic and neither was that song.
It's a great song though. I do like that song.
Oh, it's a fantastic song and it's probably the most iconic film songs ever.
I suggest it. I should suggest a mega mix at the end of the show where that comes on. However, the ending's quite touching, isn't it? When they
because the names come down, don't they?
Yeah,
if I remember rightly. Yeah. So no. If you then start busting out to any Jim will do, no, don't do that. My hat will go on. Is what I meant to say there. It might not be appropriate. It's a nice ending. It's a sad one, but it's nice.
Yeah.
So Harry just wants to know: do you have any advice for boys that want to join musical theatre, but when people are saying that they shouldn't?
Well, I think you should tell the people who are saying you shouldn't where to go, because if you love musical theatre, if you want to do musical theatre, that's your choice. It's nobody else's choice. You know, I love what I do, and if you love listening to it, if you love performing it, whatever, do it. If that's what you want to do, don't let anyone else tell you what you can't. Don't let people tell you can't do something. You know, unless it's the law.
That's different.
That's different. But it's not against the law. Yeah, it's not against the law to perform in musical theatre, so do it.
Technically, at the moment, it is.
Well, yeah. Well, no, it's not. I mean, I could go outside and start singing "Any Dream Will Do," as you said earlier.
Oh yeah, and you wouldn't get in trouble for it, no. But performing on a stage at the moment, on a technicality, it is.
Yeah.
But that's we'll not get into that one. That's a touchy subject. So Taylor wants to know. She's moving on to another musical that you've done, and we have touched on already. What's the hardest thing about playing the Phantom?
It would have to be the emotion at the end of the show. I used to have to take a bit of a time out after doing the role, about 10-15 minutes just to myself, because it's you're letting all, you're screaming and crying and you're letting all your emotion out. It drains you. It's like, ooh. So that's the hardest part of the show. However, it's an incredibly rewarding show to do. To be able to sing those songs is phenomenal.
I can imagine. Yes, it's one of the most. It's out there with Les Mis, definitely. It's the two of the most longest running musicals. It's two of the most iconic musicals. You think West End Theatre, you think Les Mis, you think Phantom. There's a few others, obviously, but Les Mis and Phantom definitely one of the first two you think of straight away. Lydia wants to know what's your favourite song in the show, not necessarily one you've performed, so not
My
necessarily
favourite song. Well, it's not really. Well, it is a song because you sing it. However, it's not like a song, as in standout song. If you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's the bit just after "Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again." The trio there, the wandering, so helpless. That bit when Raoul and Christine come in, I absolutely love that bit. And also, again in the final layer when Raoul, Christine, and Phantom are all singing together. I think Phantom's singing "Too late for turning back, too late for present, use of pity past, still thoughts of life," all that bit, and then Raoul singing it and Christine singing it. It's so good. I could talk about this for ages. I also love Past the Point of No Return. I love Wishing. I love Music of the Night. I don't like All I Ask of You. That's not because it's because I've heard it too many times, I think, because as the Phantom, you're sat like near the stage, so you can't not listen to it. You can't turn your monitor down, so you can't hear it. So I think I've heard it too many times, and it's just, come on. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful song, beautiful orchestrations, and it was always nice when someone different was singing it, if you know what I mean. Like if there's an understudy on, if someone else was singing it, it was always like, okay, I like the song again now. But it's just over and over and over. It's quite
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Controversial thing to say, but there we are.
No, that makes sense though. You think it might be controversial, but it does make sense. If you've listened to the same song over, it works with the same thing. When we used to have iPods, sorry. If I listened to the same song over and over, and I was like, no, get my new song. Yeah. So yeah, it makes complete sense. The amount of times you've been in Phantom, the same with Les, then it should be the whole show that just, no, you need to get rid of it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Raoul as a character either, so.
We're definitely getting controversial here, Luke. I like this. Mr. Webber, are you listening? Yes.
No, I think the character is well written. I just, as in...
Don't backpedal now, Mr. McCall.
No. I'm a Phantom lover, not a Raoul lover. If you get I'm Team Phantom.
You're more of a fan of... Yeah, you're Phantom, and you're fanning Phantom rather than Raoul.
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah. Makes sense. Obviously with Phantom, you've got a bit of makeup to do, more makeup than normal. You've got the cosmetic implant on your face. That must be time consuming and hard to know it, or is that?
It was quite nice actually, because the Phantom role is quite a lonely track, as in. So if you're talking about, we usually call them tracks for people who don't know. When you're talking about different characters or different parts, for example, if a swing was on and you'd say, "Oh, what track are you doing?" and you'd say, "I'm doing the bouquet track," or whatever you're doing. So the Phantom track itself is quite a lonely track. You don't really get to see people because when you're not on stage, most of the rest of the cast are. So you don't really see people. You don't really pass them in the halls and stuff. So. That part of the show I loved because you'd get in the chair about 6:45 if it was an evening show. And the makeup lady, well, whoever's doing it, they're all brilliant and they're all great laugh to work with, you know. So it's a really nice time to actually be able to talk to people. Because otherwise you don't see anyone during the show.
We know how you feel then. So we all know how Phantom feels during the show at the moment. Not being able to talk to people and see people and
so that's the nice part. It doesn't take as long as you think. It takes probably about 45 minutes, I'd say.
That's not bad then. That's not as long as you would, like, when you see it as an audience member, you'd think you must be in there for 5 o'clock, you must be in there for hours. But no, 45 minutes isn't as long as I thought then. I didn't know exactly how long, but 45 minutes is not what I would have guessed if I had to guess.
Yeah.
How long, but it'll surprise you how quickly, and they'll have been doing it for years, and it'll be done exactly the same way and things.
Yeah. Well, most of the pieces that go on you, they're pre-painted anyway. So they'll pre-makeup them. They just have to do the makeup that blends into your face.
To make it look like actually your face rather than just a bit of plastic stuck on you. Yeah, that makes sense. So Ryan asks, do you have any pre-show rituals?
Kind of. It differs with different shows. With Phantom, after having the makeup done, I like just a couple of minutes to sort of chill out and maybe read a bit of a book just before going on stage, I should say. With Valjean, I try and do some sort of push-ups or something before the show, not to buff myself up, but just to feel like the weight of being tired, because the beginning of the show is, well, in the new version, we're rowing a boat, and we will have been. That part will be. It's at the end of the working day, so we'd have been chopping rocks and then rowing a really heavy boat back. So it'd be absolutely shattered. So it's sort of to get the feeling of, I'm tired now, kind of thing, into your body. I didn't do anything with Titanic, I don't think. No, I just most of the time I just read before the show, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Just read a book.
Yeah.
Great. That's quite an interesting one with the Les Mis, making yourself. You obviously don't want to go too tired, because you've then got 2.5 3 hour show to do.
Yeah.
So it's you've got to have the slight feel of being tired, but then you've got to bounce back.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's not as if I do like 1,000 press ups just before the show.
And go, right, okay, that's me off. Get the understudy in for the night. The rest of it. I've tired myself out too much. So Michael wants to know, who was the first Jean Valjean, sorry, I can't talk today, and Phantom that you saw?
It will be Ramin for Phantom, because the only version of the show I'd ever seen before I did the show was the 25th anniversary, which
right.
I went to the cinema to watch. It was a live stream. So Ramin for Phantom, and then no, actually, I saw it live because before we opened, so we get to see the show before it opens, and I saw John Owen Jones play it, which was
right.
And then with Les Mis, it will have been the first Valjean I saw would have been Peter Lockyer, because I'd never seen the show, even any of the anniversaries before I did the show 5 years ago. Peter Lockyer was the Valjean at the time, and then he stayed on and he was our Valjean as well. But then I've seen the show quite a few times. I saw the concert version twice. I saw Colm Wilkinson, what am I talking about? I saw Alfie Boe, and I saw John Owen Jones both play Valjean, and also I've seen John Robbins do it in this production, and Colm Wilkinson as well in the 10th anniversary DVD. So those are the ones I've seen.
You've done quite a few.
I saw Geronimo as well play it in Madrid.
Oh, well, fantastic.
Yeah.
Not many people can see that then, especially from England anyway. A lot of people from Spain obviously be able to see that. So you've seen international Les Mis,
yes.
not just the UK. I'm trying to think who my first one was. I'm terrible with actors' names, I've got to say, or memory of actors' names. I could probably look up the programmer, because I've still got it. But the Les Mis actually was my very first West End show.
Okay.
And I went, you maybe actually were in it, do you know that? I'm trying to think, because it might have been 5 years ago.
Okay, maybe.
You might actually, it would have been about then, 4 or 5 years ago. And I went dressed like proper suit and everything. And it was during the summer, and these folk were walking in with shorts and t-shirts. Yeah. I'm like, so folk don't dress up for the theatre anymore. Like, do people not, like, and my mum went, no, they don't. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. I thought you were still dressed, especially West End, you thought, oh, you still get proper. They do, to a certain extent.
I had a similar experience where I went to see an opera dressed in shorts and things like that. And most people were in suits, and I was like, oh, what have I done?
I know. I now, if it's a night, obviously it's a night, it was a really, really hot day. I've got to say I did regret the suit, especially during the day. By night time it was okay, but I did regret the suit. But I did regret it even more when I walked into the theatre and everybody was just walking in their shorts and t-shirt and their sunglasses in their head. And I'm like, oh, okay. Anyway, so Callum asks quite an interesting question actually. He wants to know, Obviously, you've played the Phantom and you've played Jean Valjean, two classic characters in musical theatre history. So how do you get, if you do, to put your own spin on a classic? Because they're set in stone, but how do you get to put a spin on it?
I think the way I sort of do that is I deliberately try not to watch the show or watch a person playing it, even though we sort of have to watch the show. I'll not be like, okay, so he does this at this point and he does this at that point. I'll sort of actively try and avoid seeing that and do it myself. And also, there's blocking and things that are set. However, the way you the way you sing things and the way you convey your emotions can be as different as you want them to be from anyone else, if you get what I mean. So yeah, you do get to put your own stamp on it. That's what was nice about doing this new production of Les Mis, actually, was that I'm able to put my own stamp on Valjean sort of more so than I was last time, because it's a new production, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you and John had slightly more kind of leeway to work with it than you would have normally.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it was a new production.
Mine and John's Valjean's are very different, which is lovely as well.
Yeah, that makes sense, definitely. So what about the Phantom? Is it the same sort of thing as for the Phantom, just not watching watching else doing it?
Try not to. I'll watch the show, but I'll actively try not to. It's one of those things where you go, I need to learn where he stands and what he does and all this. But I try not to focus on that and just enjoy the show as a show, because I know that it's the last time I'll be able to watch the show without technically thinking about it, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, because after that, it's like revealing a magic trick.
Yeah,
you can
like if my mum's like, "Oh, let's watch the Phantom," it'll be on, and I'll be like, "Oh, I know what happens here." Not as in the plot, but I know how they do it. So it's still magic, and I still love it. Phantom's my favorite musical, and I absolutely love it. But I still think about it technically, which annoys me.
No, makes sense though. I can understand it. Definitely, you've broke the third wall, so that third wall can never be rebuilt.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and that's why I like musical theatre so much, because there is that third wall. So Samantha asks, is there a musical that made you fall in love? So like with musicals, not literally in love.
It was actually Phantom. It was the 25th anniversary of Phantom, because I'd never really watched a musical properly before. I'd listened to songs from musicals and things like that, but I'd never watched a musical. That's a lie. I had watched a musical, but I don't really remember which ones or where or when. So Phantom is the first musical I remember watching and going, wow, which is why it's my favorite musical. So Phantom.
Makes sense. Tony asks the question that we're getting a lot at the moment, but just obviously put spinally differently. So Tony wants to know, if you had to go into lockdown with one character that you've played, who would you do and why?
Who would I do and why? The character that I've played.
Yeah, so it's character we're looking at, obviously, not.
Probably. That's a difficult question, actually. Wow. I mean,
interesting one. We're getting it lots. I think one person's listened to it and then they send it in. Different people then send it in every week.
I feel like they all have their sort of merits. Like if I wanted to sing for the entire lockdown, then I'd get the Phantom with me. But if I wanted someone to make sure that I've eaten, and he'll go out of his way to make sure I've eaten, it's Jean Valjean.
Makes sense, yeah. Yes, and if you like to swim, then you would go for Charles, obviously.
Yes, and he survived, spoiler alert.
He did survive, yeah, definitely. Yeah. He was one of the survivors.
Yeah, and then he went on to save a load of soldiers from Dunkirk after Titanic.
So it's safe. We're getting a chat with you, but we're also getting lessons as well. Every day's a school day. Didn't know that. But yes, no, your character definitely, he survived. But no, yes. So moving on. Jay wants to know, what was it like being part of a Colosseum production?
Oh, that was brilliant. I mean, what was great about that was the orchestra were massive, and to hear them play like the Impossible Dream and I Don Quixote and things like that. Oh, it was so good. When we had the Sitzprobe, I was over the moon. It was brilliant. And obviously the theatre was on a bucket list, so it was lovely to perform in that theatre. But yeah, I mean, the orchestra for me made that job. Just listening to them play that.
I can imagine.
Wow.
It was fantastic. Like, I saw it. I'll be perfectly honest. I'll be honest, it was this man that got me in to see it, which I don't usually like to see about musicals, but I didn't, apart from The Impossible Dream, I knew nothing about it. And I'm like, really? And I thought, oh, I'm going to go see Kelsey, so he'll probably never be back in the West End, so I'll come and see it. Wow, fell in love with it, saw it 5 times after that. Like, literally, it was fantastic. The only bit, and it touches on the next question, Tim asks, do you fully understand the story from Mancha?
I do, just because I'm familiar with Don Quixote, the story. However, I can see why it's confusing because, Kelsey has 3 different names in the show, so it is a bit confusing. I think that's a flaw in the piece more than it is anything else. Sort of it's a very, very old musical. But yeah, I was familiar with the story of Don Quixote before I did the show, so I didn't find it too confusing, but I can see
why. It is partly based on true story, isn't it? Don Quixote is real.
I believe so, yeah.
Kind of, yeah. It was, there was reason to believe. Lisa asks, she wants to touch on the cast, and she asks, what was it like working with Dr. Fraser Crane and Rodney?
It was brilliant, actually. Do you know what? It was so surreal. It was really weird because these are programs that were on, early in the morning. You get up and you have your coffee and they're on the telly. It's just really strange walking into a room with those 2 in. But they were so down to earth, both of them. They were so down to earth. They were lovely. I learnt a lot from them. And yeah, it was great to work with them. Nick is one of my favorite people, actually, that I've ever worked with.
He's a fantastic actor.
He's absolutely brilliant. You can't take your eyes off him when he's acting because you can see he's listening. I just think he's incredible, and he's such a humble person, and it's really lovely to witness and to work with people like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was the show was just fantastic. Without a doubt, it was. The music, as you say, the orchestra was just outstanding. The cast, the full cast, like there was Kelsey, there was Nicholas, there was Danielle Cassidy, and obviously Peter Policarpo was in it as well. But forget the names. The full cast were just fantastic. Like, there wasn't a bad character. All characters were needed because obviously, but it was a story and a story and a story, wasn't it? It was kind of. Yeah. It did get a bit, especially the first time. After I'd seen it, I was like, okay, right. And then the second time, I went, all right, okay, so that makes sense now. And all right, so things were fitting into place after the second time. But the first time, it was like, I walked in and went, what was the story? It was a story and a story and a story. But the way that it made you feel like they were in a pit, that was the bit that got me. That was a bit like the Titanic scene in a way. How the lighting and the feel of the stage made them feel like they were actually in a pit when the guys were obviously talking from up the top. So that was impressive as well. And it's just a fantastic theatre.
Yeah.
So it is based on a true story.
Yes, it is. The prison scene, the whole prison scene, that happened when he goes into prison. Miguel de Cervantes, who wrote Don Quixote, was thrown in prison. So the sort of beginning and end of the show when he's in prison is part of the true story.
Yeah. So that's what makes it extra special. I think the fact that some of it was actually true, and makes it a bit more understandable. The first time I saw it, I compared it to Cats because I'm like, how is this? Not in any bad way, but Cats, you don't really understand the story either. And it's like, nah, this is definitely a Cats musical, but it was on a grander scale, because the costumes were all fantastic as well. Like the costumes and everything were fabulous.
Yeah.
But moving on slightly, Lee asks, if after lockdown you got the choice to go back to any role that you've played previously, which would you choose and why? That's including Les Mis.
Well, I love doing what I'm doing now, really. So I'd like to go back to that.
That's an easy answer there, Luke. That was an easy get out there. I'll just go back to what I'm doing just now.
Well, I
No,
hope
but-
it was lovely. It was lovely what we were doing. The cast were beautiful. You know, it was great to, and it's probably freshest in my memory. So it's, you know, I just want to go back and carry on doing it.
Well, it will reopen, don't worry.
Yeah.
We will get theatre back open if it kills us.
Yes.
Let's hope it doesn't. But so our last question from the fans, yes, I'm just double checking that there. Susan asks, if you could give your 16-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Go to singing lessons.
That's a good one, yes, I like that one.
100%. Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward, but good. Go to singing lessons. So now we've reached the end of the fans' questions. You'll be glad to know. So that pain's over. You can relax slightly, because now we have the not so quick fire round.
Okay.
As I've said before, it used to be called the quick fire round, but nobody really answered them quickly, so we changed it to not so quick fire round.
Okay.
Until we come up with another catchy name. But the first question in this round is, what would, if somebody said to you, you could have any role you wanted, what would your dream role be, regardless of age, race, anything like that?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I mean, I'd love to play Elphaba in Wicked. Yeah, Elphaba and Wicked.
Right, okay, so what about male characters then?
Male characters? Well, because I've been really lucky and I've played 2 characters that I've absolutely loved, I would also love to give Jesus a go in Jesus Christ Superstar.
That's a good one, yes, and I could see you as Jesus, actually, yes, I could see you.
It's the beard and the long hair.
Oh, I'm loving the man bun.
Oh, I know. I mean, I haven't had a haircut for 3 months, so I've got.
Tell us about it. I'm not quite at the man bun stage, but yeah, tell me about it. This is extremely long for me. Yeah, so the next question would have been Dream Drained role, but you've said Elphaba. I think deep down, every male kind of wants a wee shot at Elphaba. We were actually talking about that with Adam last time in the last episode. He didn't say that, but he said eventually he went, oh well, maybe Elphaba.
Yeah.
And I think we need to do it for charity. Get a charity gender bend version of Wicked, because you have a queue around the door with professionals wanting to try.
Yeah. I tell you what I would like to do for charity is, with one show, whatever show, for example, let's say Les Mis, that we as the cast have to pick out of a hat who we're playing that night, just for one night, that we have for one night only.
Oh.
You pick out of a hat and that's who you're doing. Doesn't matter, that's the part you have to do. I mean, everyone knows the score, so it would be doable, but I think that'd be great. A great way to raise money for charity or something. Although I don't know if everyone would be keen for it, but I think it'd be great.
I think you'd get majority of the cast. I think you would get a cast up for it, I would say.
100%, yeah.
You might not get everybody, but you would get enough to make a cast up, I would say.
Yeah.
Because that would be quite interesting. Carrie Hope Fletcher as Jean Valjean, Harry Apps as Fontaine, you as the master of the house. That could end up being quite an interesting. John Robbins is the wee boy. I can't get his name. That's Gavroche. Andrew Gavroche is the Inchalad and journalist. That could be quite, yes. I could see that one. I would buy it without a doubt. I'd buy a ticket for that. To be honest, I'd buy a ticket for anything at the moment in the theatre, but that's a different story. Yeah. But what's your favourite musical theatre song? It doesn't have to be one that you perform. It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Anthem from Chess.
Now, that's an interesting one you've just mentioned, because you've just released a version of that on your Instagram, I saw, didn't you?
I did, yeah. It's the first musical theatre song I ever sung. And I was about 15, 16. I think I was 16. And my voice was so deep that I couldn't sing it in the key it's in. So I had to sing it about 2 keys lower. So it was like, I cross over borders, but it was so low. But yeah, it's the first song I ever sung. I've listened to countless people sing it, and I love it. I think it's great. Such a great song.
Fantastic. Did you see it when it was on at Coliseum last year or 2 years ago now?
I didn't. I was gutted. I missed it.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was more a concert version than anything. It was more kind of concerty.
Yeah.
It was still the musical, but it was anyway. Last question, probably one of the hardest. What is your top 5 shows? Now, it doesn't have. You don't have to have been in them. You can have been in them, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay, these are in no order at all.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm going to put Phantom.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
South Pacific. Les Mis. And oh, this is difficult. Probably I'll put a recent one, Dear Evan Hansen, because when I saw it, I loved it.
Yeah. That's my number 1 at the moment, I've got to say. It's fantastic. It speaks to me a lot. As does all musicals, but yeah, that one definitely does. So that's us. That's us at the end. Last activity, obviously, is the activity that got you here, and that's to nominate somebody. Now, the rules of this is you can nominate anyone you want from theatre, film, or TV. The point is to know them, because the point is to get them in to do a talk like Richard did with you. At the end, what you do is you go into Twitter, pop up a tweet, exactly how we got you in, to say, just have a talk at West End Talks, and then tag, you can name as many people as you want, but minimum's obviously 1.
Okay.
So who would you like to nominate?
I would like to nominate Jade Davies.
Right, I know the name.
She's been in Les Mis. She's recently been, she played Maria in West Side Story in Estonia.
She did, yes.
Yeah. And she's brilliant. So yeah, I'd like to.
That's a good name. Yes, that's great. So your task now is to get in to do a chat with us then.
Great.
That's us. Thank you very much for joining us and answering all the questions for the fans.
Yeah.
All that's left for you guys at home to remember is the charity. Obviously that's the real reason we're here. You can see, I don't know if you can see, but Luke's got the t-shirt on.
Yeah.
The Show Must Go On t-shirt. You can buy these as well from the website. We'll tweet the link out, and we do anyway. And also the link below for any donations at all, anything that you can spare to help Acting for Others, who helps the theatre, the TV, the film, all the kind of acting industry. Not just at the moment, they do help all year round, but more so at the moment, obviously, with theatre being dark. So that's the whole point that we're here, is to keep the light on and to try and raise some funds. So anything at all you can, as Tesco say, every little helps. And join us next time in our next episode when we have Reagan Garcia, who some of you will have seen in last summer's smash hit playing Nigel in Adrian Mole, the musical. He's done a few other things, but I think he's 13 or 14, and he's done more than I have in my 29-year life. He's done 2 West End shows and a touring show already, and he's done Mary Poppins, Matilda, and now Adrian Mole last year. So join us and we'll talk to him about that. But thank you very much, Luke, for joining us.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you a bit better rather than just the characters.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much, and take care, guys. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Night time sharpens, high tongue